Hi everyone, my name is Nick Pecos. My shop is the Pecos Aesthetic. Welcome to my channel. Got some exciting news this week. I got this new AI tracking camera that tracks my movements wherever I go. I'm really excited about it. I'm going to be using it for filming this week. Let me know what you think. So in this week's video, guys, I'm going to be talking about what you need to know before buying your first CNC machine. This information is going to help you avoid making a costly mistake, and it's going to help you make a good investment on that first CNC machine because they are costly. We're going to talk about features of a CNC machine that you need to consider when making a purchase. Talk about some good beginner model options. And if you stick around to the end of the video, guys, I'm going to share with you which machine I think is the best machine for entry-level CNC and a beginning woodworker, and why I think that. Thanks, guys. Hey everyone, so the first thing we're going to talk about with these CNC machines is whether or not you want to get a machine that has a spindle or a router. So this is really about performance, and if you intend on doing CNC machine work for any length of time, I highly recommend you go with the spindle option. Routers are really good for beginners, but they provide a lot less accuracy. They're good for beginners because they cost less, but they provide a lot less accuracy. And if you're going to be doing any sort of CNC work for a long period of time, the sacrifice you get in accuracy between a router and a spindle is very noticeable, and you're going to want to upgrade to a spindle probably shortly after you purchase a router, so you might as well just start out with a spindle. Spindles are quieter than routers. They produce less runout than a router, which allows for greater accuracy. They have a lot more power than routers. So I highly recommend you get a machine that has the option to mount a spindle or comes with a spindle. One more thing on spindles versus routers, guys. A spindle has a much longer life expectancy, so you buy a router, you're going to be replacing it much more frequently than you would a spindle. So it's more cost effective in that way. Alrighty, talking about CAD and CAM software. So this is the software that's going to help you run your machine. It is going to run your machine. So let me get into the difference between the two. What is CAD software? CAD stands for Computer Animated Design. This is a software that you're going to use to design either your 2D or 3D design for your CNC project and create your tool paths based off that design. Just to give you a little bit of a heads up on prices and what I've used in the past, I started out with a Shipoko CNC machine, and I used VCarve for my CAM software. If you want to get their VCarve Pro version, which is basically Pro 12 is their latest version. This lets you do the most up-to-date 2D and 2.5D carving. I'm not going to get into what that is now, but basically just know is you can do any 2D carving with this. You can't do 3D carving with the VCarve Pro. You'd have to get VCarve Aspire. But VCarve Pro lets you do all the 2D carving, and that's what you're going to want to start with as a beginner anyway. It starts at $699 for the CAM software, which is pricey, but very much worth it. It's great software. If you want to upgrade and do 3D modeling eventually, you're going to need to get upgrades for your machine. In order to do that, you'd have to get different bits. I'm not going to get into all that in this video, but just know if eventually you want to get into 3D modeling, you will have to upgrade to a lot more expensive software. To give you an example, VCarve's upgrade is Aspire, and that software is $2,000 versus the $699 for the VCarve Pro. So it's a big jump in price. Other options to consider for CAD software: Fusion 360, Carbide Create, AutoCAD. Carbide Create is what comes with the Shipoko machine, and it's really cool that you get CAD and CAM software when you purchase a CNC machine from Carbide Create, and they sell the Shipoko machine, so something to consider. All right, CAM software. CAM software stands for Computer Animated Manufacturing, and this is what basically tells your machine where and how to move. So you create your design in your CAD software, it turns it into something called G-code, which is what the CAM software reads and translates into toolpaths. So your CAD is your design software, your CAM is your movement software, and the two speak to each other. Options for your CAM software include Mastercam, Fusion 360, Solid Cam, and again, Carbide Create has CAD CAM software that's integrated together. Computer requirements. So I'm not a computer expert, guys. I'm just going to give you the basic specs that you need to be able to operate a CNC. More advanced, if you're interested in more advanced computer stuff, this is not the video for you, but this is going to give you the basic specs you need to buy your first machine. You're going to need Windows 7 or newer, or Mac OS 10 or newer, or Linux OS. You're going to need an Intel or AMD processor, 2 gigahertz and above. For RAM, you're going to need 2 gigabyte minimum, but 4 gigabytes is recommended. Hard drive, you're going to need at least 200 megabytes of hard drive space, but a solid state drive SSD is recommended. For ports, because you're going to need to attach certain things to your laptop, you're going to need USB 2.0 and higher, and also an Ethernet port or an Ethernet port adapter. Please keep in mind, you don't need to buy a separate CNC machine or separate computer to run your CNC machine. If you have a laptop that you use that meets these requirements, you can bring it over to your CNC machine, build a little setup for it that you can hook it into when you're using the CNC machine. And I'll show you a video of how I did mine. Use it, and then when you're done, unplug it, go back to using your laptop for other stuff. You don't have to buy a separate computer just for your CNC machine. Work holding. Work holding is a big one. This is, you're going to learn more about it when you actually buy the CNC and you get into doing your first projects, but there are several options for holding down your workpiece while your CNC machine is milling. A lot of machines will sell you with prefabricated work holding devices. So for example, if you buy a Shipoko CNC machine, they have a spoil board already mounted and T-tracks in it. And what you do is you use those T-tracks along with hold down clamps to hold down your workpiece. Other options are you can get a vacuum table. Third parties sell vacuum tables that you can buy and hook up to your CNC machine later. They are very expensive. I don't have one yet. It's something I aspire to get eventually, but they're super expensive. And if you buy a CNC machine that has a built-in vacuum table, you're looking at the upper end of CNC hobby machines. You're probably looking at $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 for that. So just keep that in mind. I already mentioned the T-track and hold downs. You can use double-sided tape. You can use CA glue and blue painter's tape. And then you can use threaded inserts and homemade clamps and download a custom spoil board that you can create once you get your CNC machine. I highly recommend that. And I'm going to show you how I set up mine. And then kind of cutting edge technology is they sell nail guns now that shoot plastic nails. So if you have something, let's say you have a 4 foot by 4 foot piece of plywood and you want to cut an American flag out of it, but you're going to have waste area. You put down your piece of plywood, you nail it into your spoil board with the plastic machines, and you cut out your American flag on the inside of that. The beauty of that is if you mess up in your toolpaths or your design and your spindle actually, or your bit hits the plastic nails, it's not going to cause any damage. If those are metal nails, it's absolutely going to cause some damage to your spindle, and it may cause some damage to your motor, which is not a good thing. So that's kind of like the latest thing, and I purchased one myself and I'm very happy with it, so I recommend it. They're $200 to $300. Dust collection. So dust collection is definitely something to consider when purchasing a CNC machine. They make an absolute mess. We know from previous videos that wood dust is carcinogenic. It can cause cancer, so you don't want this stuff spreading all over the place. Most CNCs you buy will come with a dust shoe or boot that attaches to the spindle / router, and then you can hook up a hose to it and hook it up to a portable vac or a built-in dust collection system. So something to consider when you buy your CNC machine. Look, does it come with a dust shoe? Do they recommend any dust shoes? Do they talk about that? Definitely check that out. I'm going to briefly talk about accessories. This is not an exhaustive list. We could talk about this for 18 hours, but I'm just going to mention some of the bigger accessories that you want to think about. See if when you're buying it, does this machine that you're buying come with any of these accessories, because it's a nice bonus to have. Fourth axis. So I mentioned that earlier. This is an axis that lets you create toolpaths from multiple sides. It's a it's a rotary axis So my camera's got a life of its own. It's crazy. This is a rotary axis, so it lets you create projects like, say you wanted to do an engraving around a bat. You would need a 4th axis for that. Most machines won't come with that, but you want to check and see, does it have an upgrade option for that? My Avid CNC doesn't have a rotary axis right now. I don't do that type of stuff, but it has the option to upgrade that. I can purchase it and install it on my machine if I want to. Auto Z touch-off plate. So this is something you're going to learn more about as you get into CNC. We're not going to cover it in this video, but essentially when you're starting any CNC job, you need to zero your bit both to the machine and to the workpiece. You can do that manually, which takes a little bit more time, or you can do that much quicker with what's called an Auto Z touch plate. A lot of machines come with them. The Shipoko comes with one. Something to check, something to look into. Spoiler board I already mentioned. That it's kind of goes hand in hand with work hold down options. Make sure your machine, or see if your machine comes with some sort of spoiler board / work holding option. And then a remote controller. This is kind of a really nice feature, certainly not necessary, but I started out operating my machine from the computer and operating it through the CAM software. I now have a remote controller that I've purchased separately through Avid CNC that lets me operate the machine from a distance. So I don't have to be standing right next to the computer to jog it in the different axes. I can do that right on the remote. I can stop the machine on the remote. I carry it around. If I'm setting up a job and I walk away from the machine, I'll put the remote on my belt. And if I hear something loud, which indicates something's messed up on the machine, I can hit the stop button very quickly, or the emergency stop. So it's a good thing to have, just to look into. Work envelope. So your work envelope is the area that your CNC is able to make cuts. So for example, my Avid CNC now has a 4 foot by 8 foot table work envelope, and it also has a 6-inch Z-axis work envelope. So what does that mean? CNC machines move in 3 axes, X, Y, and Z. So X and Y are your these 2 axes, and that's 4 foot by 8 foot with my Avid CNC. That's the max cutting capacity of it. And then your Z-axis is your vertical axis. That's how much travel your spindle can move up and down in a vertical direction. And that's something to consider if you're planning on milling thick wood, doing engravings in thick pieces. Just something to think about. Starting out, my first machine had, I think, 3 inches of Z-axis travel. That was a Shipoko machine. I never had a problem with that. I never needed more than that. I will tell you now, my Avid CNC machine has 8 inches of Z-axis travel, and there have been times when I've maxed out that capacity. So I think as you get more advanced in CNC, you're going to want the more Z-axis travel. But starting out, I don't think it's going to be a limitation for you. You want to take into account what your goal is, what you're going to be making as well. If you're buying a CNC machine because you're intending on making signs, then you want to buy something with a work envelope that's probably minimum 3 feet by 3 feet, so you can have the workspace to make those signs, and you're going to want a couple inches of Z-axis travel. If you're planning on doing cabinet work eventually, you're going to need something with a 4 foot by 8 foot work envelope. I didn't really consider myself doing that when I first started in CNC, but as I learned on my beginner CNC, which was a 4 foot by 4 foot work envelope, I learned more about CNCs and what they can do, and I wanted to start doing cabinet work. And that's one of the reasons I upgraded to an Avid CNC that has the work envelope it has now, 4 feet by 8 feet, because now I can take an entire sheet of plywood, put it down on my CNC machine, and I can cut out cabinet parts with it. A couple of prior projects I've done that's been instrumental in is the mudroom project I did. I did a built-in closet where I cut out all the pieces on my CNC machine, saved an immense amount of time, and all the pieces come out perfect. It's super accurate. So that's something to consider with work envelope as well. So again, this is not an exhaustive list, but I put together 3 possible choices for your first CNC machine. One of them is what I'm going to recommend, and I'll let you know why in a minute. But 3 possible choices here are the Axiom Iconic 4 CNC, the Shipoko CNC, and the X-Carve CNC. Again, not an exhaustive list. There's a lot of choices out there. These are 3 that I picked because when I first bought my CNC, I was ultimately deciding between Shapeoko and X-Carve. And then I threw Axiom in there just to give you another choice, but there's several other choices out there. Starting with the Axiom Iconic 4 CNC. If you buy their mid-level CNC, it's a 2-foot by 2-foot work envelope. Starts at $5,000 entry price. It includes a zeroing touch plate. It includes a spoil board and a work holding system, and it comes with a 1 horsepower spindle. That's pretty decent. X-Carve Pro, their 4x2 machine, starts at $4,250. Comes with a dust collection hose and a free trial of Easel Pro. That's their CAD software. They also offer phone, email support. So that's another option for you. Then there's Shapeoko. This is what I started with. This is what I'm going to recommend. This video is not sponsored by them. I'm not getting any money for this video. I'm recommending them because I've used it and I liked it very much, and I know it's a beginner-friendly system. If I had it to do all over again, I would buy a Shapeoko again. So giving you 2 options on the Shapeoko platform. They have their 4 Pro and their 5 Pro. 5 Pro is the newest machine. 4 Pro is a little cheaper. Threw that in there so you could see that. The 4 Pro has a work envelope of 33 by 33 inches. The 5 Pro has a work envelope of 48 by 48 inches. The 4 Pro starts at $37.50. And I apologize, I didn't get a price on the 5 Pro. They both come with T-slots and built-in spoil boards. They both come with CAD and CAM software that's integrated into one program, which makes it easier and more user-friendly. It's bi-carbide crate, and it comes with the machine, which is really good. Comes with a Pro Bit Setter, which is their version of an Auto Z touch plate. Comes with 4 30-minute one-on-one training sessions with a Carbide 3D expert to help get you familiar with the CAD CAM software. That's a really cool feature. Comes with a couple of bits. One thing to note, it does not come with a spindle or router, so you have to buy that separately. So I mentioned the price of the 4 Pro is $3,750. If you're going to get the spindle, you can add an extra $750 onto that. So in closing this video, guys, again, my suggestion is you go with a Shapeoko CNC. It's competitive with pricing. It's by far the easiest to use. It has the best customer support, in my opinion. You're going to have a lot of questions when you first start CNC, and having good customer support and easily reachable customer support is something you're going to want. And I never had to wait for answers. I could call them, could email them. They got back to me quickly. They have chat forums you can get involved with that help. They have those one-on-one sessions that help. So it's a really good beginner system. Also, their 5 Pro 4-foot by 4-foot machine, that's a pretty big work envelope. You're probably not going to be at a point where you're looking to upgrade into a bigger work envelope and getting into cabinet work and things like that for quite a while. So if you start off with a 4-foot by 4-foot machine, that's going to keep you good for a long time. I started out with a Shapeoko in 2017. It's now 2025. Their machines are a lot better. There's a lot more options. There's a lot more upgrade opportunities for those machines. So that would be my recommendation. This is my current setup, guys. I have an Avid CNC machine. It's a 4-foot by 8-foot table. I got the laser engraver attachment on there as well. I started out with a Shapeoko CNC, but I upgraded to this machine after many years. It's a great machine. I love it. And then you see I have a custom CNC cart that I built specifically for this machine that houses my mini computer in the back, and then has my workstation for when I have my CAD and CAM software open, and then a bunch of drawers to house my bits and dust collection, work holding tools, and all that stuff. If you have any questions about CNCing, I plan on coming out with a whole series of videos about CNC work, and please feel free to reach out to me via the comments section. Please leave comments on this video. Let me know what you thought of it, what I can do differently next time, what you found helpful, what you found not so helpful. And as always, if you like the video, please like, comment, subscribe to my channel. The support is huge. Thank you very much for the support. And that is all for now, guys. I will see you next Saturday with a new video. Thank you.